I lost my best friend slowly, and that made it hurt more than if she had left, all at once. Some friendships don't end with shouting or slammed doors. They end with unanswered messages, forgotten milestones, and the slow realization that you are no longer someone's safe place. That kind of ending stays with you. I met my best friend when we were 11 years old. I'll call her Ava. We were assigned seats next to each other in class, and I remember noticing her laugh before anything else. It was loud and unfiltered, the kind of laugh that made teachers pause mid-sentence. She apologized for it constantly, even though I secretly loved it. By the end of that week, we were inseparable. We spent our childhood glued together. Sleepovers that turned into entire weekends. Inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. Long conversations whispered under blankets when we were supposed to be asleep. When one of us cried, the other stayed up no matter how late it got. She knew my family. I knew hers. My parents treated her like another daughter. When things were bad at her house, she stayed with us. When things were bad at mine, she didn't ask questions. She just sat with me. She once told me I was the only person who had never left her. I didn't know how heavy that promise would become. Through our teenage years, we were each other's constants. First crushes, first heartbreaks, family fights, self-doubt, insecurities, everything was shared. We promised each other that no matter where life took us, we would always come back to each other. At the time, I believed that kind of bond was unbreakable. When we went to different universities, people warned us that distance would change things. It didn't. Not at first. We talked every day, sometimes for hours. Sometimes just voice notes sent back and forth while walking to class. If days passed without talking, it never felt awkward. We picked up exactly where we left off. Then, slowly, life began to shift. Ava met someone during her final year. At first, I was happy for her. I listened to every detail, every doubt, every excitement. I reassured her when she questioned herself. I celebrated her happiness the way I always had. But there was a subtle change I didn't want to name. She stopped telling me things first. I started finding out about important moments through social media, new plans, new milestones, new routines. When I asked about them, she brushed it off, saying she assumed I already knew. She canceled plans more often. When we did meet, she seemed distracted. Her phone was always face down on the table, lighting up every few minutes. Conversations that used to last hours ended early. I told myself this was normal. People grow, relationships change. I didn't want to be the friend who felt threatened by her happiness. But then came the quiet betrayals. She forgot my birthday. Not completely. She sent a message the next day saying she'd been busy. I told her it was fine, even though it wasn't. She missed important moments in my life. When my grandmother got sick, she sent a short text instead of calling. When I went through a painful breakup, she told me to stay positive and changed the subject. Meanwhile, I was still there for her, listening, supporting, making space, showing up. At some point, the balance shifted so slowly that I didn't notice until I was already exhausted. The first time I felt truly replaced was when I learned she had moved in with her partner. She never told me. I found out through a photo someone else posted online. When I asked her about it, she laughed lightly and said it had happened quickly. She said she didn't think it was a big deal. I smiled through the conversation and cried afterward. The next betrayal was worse. I realized she had been sharing things about me with her partner, deeply personal things I had told her in moments of vulnerability, things I had trusted her to keep safe. When I confronted her, she said couples don't keep secrets. She said I was overreacting. That was the first time I felt truly unsafe with her. But I stayed. Because history is heavy. Because letting go felt harder than holding on. The moment that finally broke me came quietly. We had joked for years about being each other's maid of honor. We talked about it long before weddings were real. It was always an assumption, a given. So when she got engaged, I was excited. And then I wasn't chosen. I found out by accident. Someone congratulated me on not having to deal with wedding stress. I laughed, confused, and asked what they meant. They told me Ava had chosen someone else, someone she had known for less than 2 years. When I asked Ava about it, she avoided eye contact. She said she wanted things to be simple. She said I had too much history with her and she wanted a fresh start. I nodded, and something inside me collapsed. Our history was no longer a gift. It was a liability. After that, I stopped reaching out. Not as a test, not to make a point. I just stopped. Weeks passed, then months. She didn't notice. When she finally did, she messaged asking why I had disappeared, not apologizing, not acknowledging anything, just confused that I wasn't there anymore. I told her the truth. I told her I felt replaced. I told her I felt taken for granted. I told her I felt like I only mattered when it was convenient. She said she was sorry I felt that way. She never said she was sorry. That was the end. I grieved that friendship like a death. I replayed memories. I questioned myself. I wondered when I stopped being enough. I wondered if I ever really mattered to her at all. Some nights, I still think about the girl who once called me her safest place. I wonder when I stopped being safe, or if I ever really was. Losing her didn't make me angry. It made me quieter. And that quiet stayed with me longer than I expected.
Thanks for watching. For more stories like this, please check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Midnight Tea Stories.